Last week, we studied the 18th verse. Avyakta vyaktaya sarvaha prabhavantyah ragave. At the approach of the day, all the manifested stream forth from the unmanifested. And at the approach of the night, they dissolve into what is called the unmanifested. So it's amazing how the plan of nature is functioning. You could be oblivious, you're ignorant about it, but the nature is manifesting itself. So the nature here is referring to the unmanifest here refers to the vasanas. Avyaktaha refers to the vasanas. This verse is talking from a microcosmic perspective, from the individual perspective, and the next verse speaks from a macrocosmic perspective. So at the approach of the day, which means when the day begins, when your day begins, when you wake up, all has the manifested, whatever has manifested. Who has manifested? The waker. That is the individual who you announce yourself to be. I, the waker, steams forth from the unmanifested. The unmanifested, as we said, is the vastness. So the individual, which is me, is an expression of the unmanifest vasanas. In fact, vasanas are nothing but unmanifest. They come into manifestation, you become the waker. Now, when the same individual, at the approach of the night, they dissolve there only, means they go back into what is called, again, the unmanifest state. Now, in short, what he's saying is, you are nothing but a bundle of vasanas. You are nothing but an expression of vasanas. And vasanas is the cause, individual is the effect. So vasana is the seed, the effect of that seed is the personality, is what you are. And what we are told, vasana is the cause, action is the effect. Action becomes the cause, vasana is the effect. Both are not wrong. Huh? Vasana is the cause, your current actions are the effect. For those of you who are there for the first time and who don't understand what this vasana is nothing but your deep-rooted impressions, your past impressions from your past experiences. You in fact have brought it forward from your past births as well. Or you can also understand it, that which you have gathered during the course of your experiences. So the vasanas, which are your past impressions, they become the cause, and actions the effect. And the current actions become the cause, and the future vasanas are the effect. So we are caught up in effect, in a trap of the vasanas. We all are caught up in this trap or the bundle of vasanas, and the entire journey or exercise is to get out of this trap, is to get out of this maze of vasanas that we have got ourselves trapped in. So much so, the masters who have reached that state of perfection, that perfection is also described as a state of as vasanalessness. So one who has achieved successfully to have wiped out this impressions of vasanas from them, they have reached a state of perfection. So you may say, sir, I don't think I'm anywhere near, nor am I aspiring that for the state of vasanalessness. But if you were to even keep that as a standard, if vasanalessness is perfection, anywhere you get closer to it is you are reaching a state of, to the closer you are to that extent you're perfect. The further away you're going from it, you're caught up, you're lost in this maze of vasanas, the maze of desires. Now, before I explain this cycle of vasana, the cause, action, the effect, action, the cause, vasana, the effect, all what he's saying is the vasana is the cause of your personality. Therefore, the vasana is also known as the causal body. It is the very cause. So if you can bring about a change in the nature of your vasanas, you can bring about a change in your personality. You can bring about a change in the world. So vasana is the subtlest that you are dealing with. It is the subtlest. And as you understand the principle of control, it is the subtle that controls the gross. If you take, for example, in an organization, you will find there are clerks, there are assistant managers, there are managers, there are departmental heads, then you find you have the directors, and then you have perhaps the chairman of the organization. It's the chairman who is at top. He controls everybody down under. Am I right? So the vasana is the supreme most of all. Vasana controls everything. Vasana controls everything. Now, what is that everything? Instead of me spelling out, I want to firstly congratulate Venkatramji. Has become Dr. Venkatramji. So I see that he has rightfully so, he has written himself as doctor. Many congratulations, sir. So we are awaiting the party, huh?
Yes, definitely.
I don't see a seriousness in when you say that.
No, I mean, I'm very serious.
Yeah.
I'm serious. We will do it in Wisdom Foundation.
That you don't decide. That also you decide, is it? That we decide, no?
Okay, I will leave it to you.
Thank you, sir. Happy for you, sir, for your achievement.
Thank you.
Right. Now, the question I'm asking is vasana is that which controls everything, like a chairman controls everything in the organization. Now, what is it that your vasanas controls is the question.
What is that our vasanas control?
Yes.
Okay. Desires?
All right. Your vasanas controls your desires. How do they control the desires?
Not in fact kind of control, they actually influence the desires, if I have to say, in the sense they will, given our past impressions about the way we have fond about certain things, they would influence our desires, and they would probably, kind of gravitate us towards those kind of desires. That is control in a negative sense, I'm saying.
Okay, vasanas controls, or you can loosely use control, or you can say very powerfully influence the desires. If you have vasanas for a particular sport, you will be inclined, you'll have a desire for that particular sport. If you have vasanas for spicy food, you will desire to eat spicy food, and so on and so forth. Okay, all right. Now, what else does your vasanas control? One more thing you can say, and then we'll get others' inputs.
One more thing in the sense, desires, actions.
All right. So your vasanas determine your actions.
And sometimes they can also be positive. I think there is not always it is negative. Like you are saying, if we have some good vasanas, then they would also influence us positively in life.
Sir, vasana, I did not qualify the vasana as good or bad.
Okay.
Vasana is there's nothing good or bad in a vasana.
Okay.
Vasana, what is a vasana? Vasana is, in fact, the closest description of vasana is defined as an aptitude or an urge or an inclination towards something in particular.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can have an aptitude towards mountaineering, you can have aptitude towards cooking, you have aptitudes towards carpentry, you have aptitude towards automobile engineering, you have aptitude towards agriculture, you have aptitude towards scuba diving. Now, what is wrong with that? What is good or bad about a vasana?
Okay, got it.
So there's nothing good or bad over vasana. Vasana is just a field of activity.
Okay.
All right, sir?
Okay.
Now, what else has a vasana controls? Let me ask Sanjay. Remember, I said the principle of the vasana here is it is the subtlest, and subtle controls the gross, right? So what all does the vasana control is the question.
So it also controls your thoughts.
Yes. It also determines or defines or controls your thoughts. In fact, the chronology of action is vasana, thought, desire, action. Isn't it? Vasana, thought, desire, action. So Venkatji mentioned about desire and action. You tell about thought. Yes. Now, what beyond that?
So actually, I was going to say, I don't know if it's beyond it or if it's just the same, but it controls everything. So it controls your body, mind, and intellect. No?
Now, when you say thoughts, thoughts are in the intellect.
Intellect.
When you say desires, desires in the mind.
Yeah.
When you say actions, actions refer to the body. So in effect, you have said the body, mind, intellect. So the body, mind, and intellect are a product of the vasana. If the vasanas is the parent, the body, mind, intellect is a child. So you're not wrong to say that. Okay. What else? You think anything else? Vasana controls?
This might be the same as thought and action, but it's the choices that we make. But that's probably just a product of our thoughts.
The choices that you make? I would hold back from that for now. If you say your vasana is influencing the or determines the choice, what is it that makes a choice?
The free will.
Then what happens to the free will?
Yeah. I've negated the free will. Yeah, I understand.
The concept of free will gives you the freedom from your vasanas. See, free will is from what? A human being has got a choice, has a freedom to choose to be free from vasanas. I mean, just because I have a vasana, let's say if I have a vasana for smoking, that vasana for smoking will manifest as a thought to smoke, a desire to smoke, and I am a smoker. Now, does that mean I am a slave of that vasana? Does that mean there is no way out for me from that particular vasana? As a human, we are told to believe that you are not a slave, but a master of your own personality. Isn't it? So that concept of free will runs parallel to the vasana. So I didn't want to bring that along, but you're right. The vasanas may influence, in fact, will influence the choice. One choice is the fact that you have a choice means there are two options. One is to go along with the vasana, which is to smoke. I have a choice not to smoke as well. That's a choice I have, which doesn't exist with reference to an animal. An animal has no choice. We must believe in our ability that we have that choice to choose other than my own vasanas. Means I can choose to be something other, a better. But coming back to it, what is it that the vasanas control? Okay. What else does the vasanas control? Hariji, the vasanas, when you say extroverted or introverted, is nothing but the quantum. If you have more vasanas, you are more outward. If you have less vasanas, you are more inward. That is again the character of your personality. Whether you're more active or more contemplative. In fact, one thing Gaitima, any idea what does your vasanas control? What is grosser than the body?
Body is gross, so grosser than the body is material, inert material.
Inert material. So how do you say vasanas control? In fact, I can see the little ambiguity or the concern of using the word control. I would rather say, what are the grossification of vasanas? What are the manifestation of vasanas? Perhaps is a far more comfortable way of phrasing the question. So we are able to think. So grossification is the thoughts. Grossification is your desires. Grossification is the actions, the body. Means if I have a vasana to be an athlete, I will think like an athlete. I have a desire to be an athlete. I am athletic. My physical body will resemble that of an athlete, isn't it? If I am not having an athletic body, that means
I have no vasana for that. So the thought
I have my thoughts and desires and vasanas are not. So the physical body is a reflection of my vasana. Now, what more is the grossification of vasana? is the environment you are in, the kind of people you keep association with, the environment you choose, how the conditions you live in, how you keep your workplace, how you keep your home. Everything that you do is a reflection of your vasanas, is a reflection of your mind. Have you not heard this? Tell me your friends, I tell you who you are. What does it mean? The company you keep is nothing but a reflection of your own mind, a reflection of your own vasanas, a reflection of your own personality. So if I want to change the environment, what do I need to do? If I'm obese and if I am unhealthy and if I want to become fit and healthy, what do I need to do?
I have to change the vasana.
Correct. It is not the question of exercising. I may exercise today. I may buy a treadmill. I may buy an equipment. I may enroll myself into a gymnasium. That will not help because I have not brought about a change in the pattern of my thoughts. I tried to rationalize this and it made sense, absolute sense. Remember me mentioning it a long time ago. You know, you find these gymnasiums. The modern gymnasiums have fantastic equipments and facilities, and they have sauna and that and this. But they have a facility which can accommodate, let's say, 200 people at a time. But their membership runs into thousands. And they constantly market so that they enroll more members. And people get excited and they enroll. But then I ask, how is it that you have so many members and how is it that the space that you provide is not sufficient? Is it so that this experience tells us they don't come back? And yet they have this flashy membership, not just to this particular club. They'll entice them. You are a corporate traveler. You can go into any of our clubs, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the region. Ah, that's interesting. And how much I pay? Oh, I pay only this extra more. So what they're trapping you. But what you have not brought about a change is you have not instilled the thought for health. The moment you bring about a transformation for change in the thoughts, automatically the kind of food you eat, the kind of people you meet, the kind of what time you sleep, what time you get up, what you do, what you don't do, automatically changes. Why? Because it is the subtle that controls the gross. Now you're trying to change the gross, therefore you don't see a desirable result. The moment you change the vasanas or the thoughts, automatically everything changes. So vasana is the cause, action is the effect. The world you live in is a reflection of your vasanas. Is this clear? Now, how do you say that action is the cause and vasana is the effect? Vasana is the cause, actions are the effect. That's understandable. But how do you say action is the cause and vasana is the effect? Vasanta, am I following?
Kind of, Guruji.
Kind of. What kind of, may I know?
So not completely, but yes, a little bit following.
Where are you lost?
Can't point out, but I think it's a little bit cloudy for me. So you have a question, Guruji?
No, I forgot my question when you say cloudy. I also got lost in the clouds then, you know.
He said actions. How can actions reflect vasana or something? Actions cause us.
No, I just said earlier that vasana is the cause, action is the effect. What it vasana is the cause, action is effect means your personality. Who is Vasanta? Vasanta is nothing but a bundle of vasanas. Can you describe to me what vasanas you have?
That's a long list.
No, a small list will do for now. What is it that always fascinated you from childhood? What is it that you enjoy doing?
I can't pinpoint any one thing.
That means you have no vasanas.
No, I may
Just
have
now you said-
many. So probably there is not one that overpowers the other. Probably there are so many.
I'm not talking of one overpowering the other. I'm just mention
No,
a few
so that-
vasanas.
No, that's what I'm saying, Guruji. So there is probably not anything that strong amongst the many I have. So I'm not sure if I like good life. I enjoy my family. I enjoy what I do from work. So if all of those are vasanas, yes, I have all of them.
No, why I'm trying to mention is, let's say if you have vasana towards music, okay, you will be naturally gravitated. Let's say if you're an affinity towards pop music, you'll instantly pop up from your seat when you listen to pop music. But if there is no interest in pop music, pop music is going on, you'll not react, you'll not get excited. So all the actions that you're performing comes because there is this undercurrent of vasana, which you may know, which you may not know. But when some stimuli comes favorable to you, vasana, the antenna gets alerted, you react favorably. That's how you know you have a vasana. In fact, if you need to know whether you have a vasana for something in particular, you get yourself exposed to the marketplace. You go out into the world and you know whether you really have a fascination for it. If there is an undercurrent, or even if there's a residue of interest in it, it manifests. So that's what we said. Your vasana is the cause and action is the effect, right? And this is happening at the approach of the day. The vasanas come back into manifestation. At the approach of the night, they go back into unmanifestation. That's what the 18th mantra is saying, the individual. We're only expanding on the concept of vasana. Now, what I was asking is, action becomes the cause and vasana is the effect. Sorry. So how can action become the cause and vasana the effect?
So I think you mentioned that changing the environment, so the sangati in which you are may change or change your effect as well, right? For example, if I am in this class, the thoughts are different versus if at the same time I am doing something in this time, if my environment would be a different environment, my thoughts would be different and my effect of that environment will be different. So I'm assuming that action is nothing but here in this case, changing the environment that you are is the action that I performed, which would change the effect.
Correct. So the actions you chose to today, this moment, creates. Now, what determined you to choose that action? You had the vasana. When you chose, let's say when you chose to do some other activity, what happened to the vasana for philosophy? Did it exist? It did, isn't it?
It's lower probably or subdued.
It is the intensity is the same, but you chose to be to something else. So the actions you choose, is it based on the vasana or the free will here?
Free will.
Free will. This is where Sanjay. So you have a choice to go along with a particular vasana or choose something else. And when you make the choice, it creates an environment. And the moment you create the environment, is like you prepare the soil and you plant the seed. What happens? You're creating an opportunity for that seed to sprout and manifest. So your current actions become the
future.
seed for future vasanas.
That's good.
So we are, end of the day, what we must take from this is we are a bundle of vasanas and we are caught up in this self-created prism. We are in a prism of vasanas. Now the question is how to get ourselves out of this trap of vasanas. Because man minus vasanas or desires equals God. That state of God realization is man minus vasanas. That's the ultimate stage. God plus vasanas equals vasanta. You are the divinity plus the vasanas. So all that he's saying is a human is helpless expression of vasanas. And what we are extending to it is you have a capacity to change the nature of the vasanas. You have the capacity to choose between the complex composition of your vasanas. You have the capacity to eradicate your vasanas. Or you also have the capacity to multiply the vasanas and add to the existing bulk. The options are multifold. What kind of actions you perform depends on you. Many people blame the environment for what they are, isn't it? Don't blame the environment for what you are. You are the master and the environment is a reflection of your thoughts. So who created an environment? I have demanded that environment. So let's say I have a vasana to eat Mexican food. Where would I end up going?
Mexican restaurant.
And what do I go and do there? Fulfill my desire for Mexican food. Full stop. So who is the architect for that environment? Who created that environment? I have created. I have created. So I can't blame the Mexican restaurant for that. The Mexican restaurant existed, has become a reality because of thought in my mind. So if I'm able to bring in some wisdom to be able to control the nature of my thoughts, automatically the environment changes. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in a particular environment, but you must remember you are the master. You're not a slave of the environment of the world. In fact, the whole journey begins by you seeking a conducive environment for your growth, isn't it? I go into a particular environment to seek my growth. And what is that known as? All right, Vasantama, I'll leave you at that. Perfect. So I hope the mist has cleared a little bit.
Yes, Guruji.
Okay, great. But feel free, feel free at any stage to clarify. Don't have to be lost in any ambiguity, feel free. All right, okay. Now, what was I asking, Gayatri Ma? I was just about to ask something. Any idea what was I asking? Correct, Sanjay. What initially we have to choose a particular environment for your own transformation and development. So what do you call that term, that philosophical term, where you choose a conducive environment for your own development or your own betterment? I would like to, Ganesh ji, are you there, sir? I thought I saw you earlier, but then why
Yes,
did
yes.
you again became unseen?
But there's a lot of movement around, so I didn't want to distract people.
Appreciate, no problem, sir. But I just wanted to get you involved. Are you following what we are
Yes,
discussing? All
yes.
right, great. So the question is, what is it, that term that you, when you choose a conducive environment for your own betterment or your own growth, what is that word called? The Sanskrit term.
I'm not aware. Is it Sankalpam?
In fact, Sankalpam is nothing but your thought. So the Sanskrit word Sankalpa means thought. But the environment you choose for your own transformation is known as satsang. Sat means good. Sang means the company you keep. So I choose to be in the right company or in the right environment so that I am molded in a proper manner, isn't it? Now, why do I seek a particular environment or satsang for my betterment? What does it indicate? That I don't have it in me yet. I am weak, so I seek a particular environment for my own betterment, isn't it?
Or like-minded people?
You seek a like-minded company so that you are influenced with that environment or thought. All right. Now, once you are transformed or established in a particular stage, what happens is, wherever you go, you carry that aura along with you and you create an environment wherever you go. So you will influence the environment. You're getting what I'm saying, sir? When in the initial stages, you seek an environment to mold your vasanas. But once you have transformed your vasanas, wherever you go, you will influence the others' thoughts, you will influence others' sankalpas, you will influence the environment around you. That's the potency of you being a master, not a slave of the environment, not a slave of your vasanas. Once you master your vasanas, you become powerful so that you create a satsang wherever you go. You're able to see the point, sir. So therefore, what we are only trying to conclude is, even though you are a bundle of vasanas, you have a choice. You can be a master of your vasanas. And you, by being a master of your vasanas, you can change your thoughts, you can change your desires, your actions, your environment, your world, everything around you changes by you gaining a master over your vasanas. And how do you gain a mastery? Is that one thing which is superior to vasanas is the wisdom contained in the Shastras, which the wisdom we are trying to imbibe, the wisdom which operates through the intellect. So the wisdom operates through the intellect, where you have the capacity to checkmate. So you remember just earlier I took an example. If I have a vasana for smoking, I'll have a thought to smoke, a desire to smoke. I'm a smoker. Now, how would I have the capacity to, in fact, yesterday I was in company with a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, and he said, Vinay, I need to catch a smoke. I said, please do what you need to do. And first thing I said to him, we were in the open and I wanted to ask him, see, which side is the breeze flowing? You know, I wouldn't want to be even passively smoking. So I kept a few feet away from him, and the breeze was in the other direction. So I said, I got into conversation casually, how many cigarettes you smoke? I think I smoke close to a pack a day. I said, can't you drop it? No, I did drop it, yeah, but I went for a holiday with a few other friends of mine, and they just started and said, you just smoke on this holiday again, go home and drop it off. And it said, by Joe, after that, I am not able to drop it. So to a person who thinks he's a slave of that particular act of cigarette, what we are telling is, here is the wisdom which is superior, which can overpower that vasana. And how does the wisdom express? Through the intellect, you can checkmate the thought at every go. If the vasana says do it, you can checkmate it. In the game of chess, you checkmate it. You go against it and say no. And that's where we are here, seeking the wisdom, which not only can checkmate a vasana, can uproot a vasana completely. That's the beauty of this wisdom. And talking of cigarette, I'm reminded of the beautiful quote of Bernard Shaw, which I didn't tell my friend. So I would have upset him, But I'm telling you all, Bernard Shaw says, his description of cigarette is, he says, take a little bit of tobacco, roll it in a piece of paper with fire on one end and fuel at the other. That is his description of a cigarette. Take a little bit of tobacco, roll it in a piece of paper with fire on one end, fuel at the other. So the vasanas, in fact, I think it's Emerson who said, it's God playing the fool. So God is within you and making a fool of you. You're not able to get yourself out of it. All right, so the 18th verse speaks about how this distinct vasanas each one has, how it keeps coming from manifestation into unmanifestation, and unmanifestation into manifestation. And this is the cycle that we all are caught up in. That's the 18th verse says. Now you may say that, oh, some of us are going through it. In the 19th mantra, it says, the entire humanity, the same principle works at the macrocosmic level, right? So let's move on, take 19. Bhutagrama sayevayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratriagame vasha partha prabhavatyharagame bhutagrama sayevayam bhutva bhutva praliyate ratriagame vasha partha prabhavatyharagame. Now this multitude of beings being born again and again is dissolved helplessly at the approach of the night, O Partha, Arjuna, and it streams forth at the approach of the day. The same concept of creation and dissolution, which we have understood with reference to the microcosmic level, the same thing is happening at the macrocosmic level, which is at the across the multitudes of beings. Imagine all one hemisphere, one entire hemisphere, this part of the world has woken up. All of us are bristling into activity, and at the same time, other part of the world are mellowing down. Almost there is no activity. So what applies the principle to individual vasana? The same principle applies to what is known as Mahat, which is known as a collective vasana. So a collective vasana, where all of them are subjected through the same cycle of dissolution, which is at the approach of the day, all of us go to sleep. The same principle applies. At the approach of the day, all of us awake. A matter of a few hours here and there, all of us have to wake up, no? So the principle of the cycle of Kalpa and Pralaya, the creation, cycle of creation and dissolution happens at the micro level, at the macro level. Helplessly, he says, helplessly it's happening. And you are ignorant of it, it still continues to happen. And all of this, all of the play of vasanas, it doesn't affect the Atman or the self within. All this creation and dissolution within does not affect the Atma or the self. So the self remains unaffected by all this play of vasanas. It's like the magician who is mesmerizing the audience by his magic, because he has created a magic bird. He's brought about a magic bird. He's doing so much magic on the stage. The magician, is he affected by his magic? The magician remains unaffected by the magic that he creates. Similarly, the self, which is responsible for everything to happen, self remains unaffected. So only you need to understand is the vasanas which happen at the micro level are also happening at the macro level. Okay. 20. Parastasmattu bhavonyat avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. Parastasmattu bhavonyat avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati. These masters have nothing else but to confuse us. Now here he throws in a jinx into the whole concept. There, but tu. Tu means but there exists higher than the unmanifested, yet another unmanifested being. Already I'm confused. You're confusing me further. Just now Vasantama was coming out of the clouds. Again, we have put you back into the clouds, Vasantama. Deeper cloud now. Thicker maze. That unmanifested being is eternal. That which is not destroyed when all the beings are destroyed. but there exists higher than the unmanifested. So obviously it is not the same unmanifested, yet another unmanifested being. Avyaktaha. Avyaktaha means the unmanifested. Higher, paraha, higher than the unmanifested. Sanatanaha is eternal, which is not destroyed when all the beings are destroyed. Now, let's go through the process of deduction. When a human being dies, when I die, when you die, what happens to the vasanas in you? Are they destroyed? It is said the vasanas we have been carrying from many generations. We're carrying on from birth to birth. You know, the famous word of Bhajagovindam, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jathare Shayanam, Iha Samsare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahi Murare. Now, oh Murare, please relieve us from this continuous cycle of bondage of Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, again born into the mother's womb. You know, Iha Samsare, this samsara, this bondage, please relieve us. So, when I die, there is no guarantee that the vasanas I carry, all of them are not exhausted. So there are certainly the vasanas that will remain. But if you read the translation, he says that unmanifested, which we have described it as the vasanas, he says there's something yet another unmanifest. Now, what is this yet another unmanifest? I'll have to ask Aparagaru. He will speak with great clarity. Now you all see how much clarity with which he'll speak. Vasantama is staring at him. No, little clarity, whatever he had, he's lost. Vasantama, please don't look at him. Don't stare at him like that, please. Pao.
Guruji, you are asking me tough questions, Guruji.
Okay, sir. Let me help you to understand.
You know, there are two unmanifested in that particular sloka. I do not, you know, first of all, understanding the first unmanifested itself is difficult. Understanding second unmanifested is impossible for me.
Impossible. Now, okay, let me help you to get to this. Now, so there are three things we should understand. There is the manifest. There's unmanifest 1, unmanifest 2. Am I right?
Yes, Guruji.
Now, let's start from the scratch. From your understanding, what do you describe as manifest? What is manifest for you?
Basically, the manifestation is, you know, the vasanas are basically the manifest for me. So through vasanas, I am having thoughts, I am actually, and they're translating into actions. So that is a manifestation.
Correct. So the actions you perform, the thoughts you entertain, the desires you have, the world you live in is all manifest, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You know very well what desires you have, what you like, what you don't like, what actions you perform. That is manifest, all right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, from what we have understood in 18 and 19, the unmanifest 1 has been described as the vasanas, isn't it?
I thought unmanifested is, you know, as you explained in the earlier sloka, it is devoid of vasanas. Am I right? It is unmanifest is something that is devoid of vasana.
No. See, we only, you're going one step ahead. We are unmanifest till now. We have described it as the vasana. Vasana is something unmanifest. From the vasana comes thoughts, desires, actions, and the world, isn't it? So the unmanifest is the vasana.
Action is manifest.
So you have, I said, you have vasanas for music. You will have thoughts towards music. You have desire for music. You will enjoy music, or you're a musician. Now, how did you end up liking, desiring music? Because you have a vasana. I took example of pop music, but you have no vasana for pop music. You have vasana for Carnatic music. Because you have vasana for Carnatic music, you are a musician, or you appreciate Carnatic music. That is a unique flavor of vasana you have. So it's because of that root, which is the seed of your personality, which is the vasana, you are what you are. And I'm different from you because I have a different bundle of vasanas. You have a different bundle of vasanas. That's all. So the unmanifest till now we have described as the vasana. The manifested is your thoughts, desires, actions, the world you live in, the friends you keep, the company you keep. Everything that you do, the way you do, is all because of your vasanas. So the fact that you're born as a male is because you have vasanas. A lady is born as a lady is because she has a vasana to be born as a female. It's all your vasanas. Your body is also an expression of vasana, isn't it? Yes. If I am born paralyzed, why am I born? My physical body born paralyzed. Why? It's my own vasana. Somebody is born healthy, somebody is born unhealthy. Why? It's a play of vasana. Everything you can blindfolded, we can say everything is an expression of vasana. Everything. There's nothing that is not vasana. So vasana is like saying, I see a huge mango tree. Every part of the tree is an effect of the seed that you planted, isn't it? The seed is the cause, nothing else. So vasana is the seed of your personality. You can't deny that. So if you go with that understanding, that's what we have said so far. The manifested is the world, unmanifested is the seed, which is the vasana, unmanifest one. Now, what Lord Krishna in the text here, he says there exists higher than the unmanifested. So he is going one notch higher beyond the unmanifest that we know of. He's saying there's yet another unmanifest. And what is the characteristic of this unmanifest? He says it is eternal. Eternal means this is something which exists into perpetuity. Come any time in history, it will exist. Now, let me ask you, sir. The vasana you had as a child, what happened to that vasana? Does it still exist in you, the child vasana, the childhood vasanas you had?
Many of the vasanas have been fulfilled, and I don't. Many of them have been fulfilled. Yeah.
Many of them fulfilled. So once you're fulfilled, saturated, the vasanas drop off, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's say in your young working career, you had a vasana. Let's say in your young career, you had a vasana to have a beautiful home. Now, having retired from work, you say, sir, yes, I have got a beautiful home, a lovely family. That vasana which I had desired to dream to have a beautiful home is fulfilled. I don't have any further desire to have a bigger home. I've saturated. Is it safe to say so?
Certainly, Guruji.
Thanks for the cooperation, sir. Otherwise, you say, no, no, sir, I have a desire to buy a bigger house, then I'll have to swallow my own words.
No, certainly. Only thing I was thinking, is that I have to protect what I have.
Correct. That is yet another story. Let's not get into that. Now, even in your own lifespan, the vasanas you have come and gone. So the vasanas are not eternal, isn't it?
No, they're not eternal.
They are ephemeral. They have come, they lived in your life for a while. That vasana which you had meant so much to you.
Yes.
And it consumed some part of your life. And once you're fulfilled, it's gone. It doesn't mean anything to you, isn't it?
Yes.
Right now, some vasana is hovering over your head. I will not that I know of, nor I'll attempt or guess about it. But there's some vasana that is bothering you. And it might take another year or two or few years for that vasana to fulfill. After that, what will happen to the vasana? It will go away. So the vasanas cannot be the eternal. So when he says there is yet another unmanifest, which is eternal. Now, the only thing that is eternal, that which doesn't die, is which is not destroyed when all beings are destroyed. When you die, when I die, when all of this hemisphere, the whole humanity, the whole world, the whole pralaya comes and the whole world is destroyed, yet it is not destroyed. What is it that is not destroyed when all of it is destroyed? That is the Brahman, the reality, the consciousness, the truth. In a layman's term, it is called God, God.
Guruji, how one would guess that what is happening after death? One can hardly prove that there's a rebirth also. So why, so I have to take that rebirth is a certain. Then what all the conclusions we are drawing will be right. If I say that there is no rebirth, then the whole logic will not work out.
No, I am not saying you to accept there is a continuity, nor are they saying to believe in what they're saying. But if you apply logic to the question, is there a continuity? Is there a birth after death? If we were to ask this fundamental question, sir, is there a birth after death?
I don't know.
Correct. You do not know. But let's assume, sir, I'm sitting now taking this satsang. In the next 2 minutes, the roof over my head collapses.
Okay.
And I'm crushed to death. This next moment, I'm crushed to death.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pronounced dead a few minutes later. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you were to ask me, have all my desires and vasanas in me, have they been exhausted?
No, certainly not.
Oh, how is it you're so sure about my vasana? Huh?
Guruji, what
assurance you say that I have still vasanas in me?
Because
Vasantama, I want to ask Vasantama. You have no right. You have lost your rights to talk.
Guruji, you asked me a question. Let me answer. You asked me the question about my vasanas. So she is not the right person.
I am not asking. I am not asking about your vasana. I am dead, sir.
Oh, you are okay. I thought I am dead because my roof has fallen. Okay.
No.
You can then.
Sir, please.
No, but still, I think
I can understand the tension you are in. Please log in separately. You sit in one room. Vasantama sit in one room. Why are you going through this tension
Guruji,
sitting next to her?
Guruji, I know your vasanas also. You wanted to build a big wisdom institute, and also they are not fulfilled. So how can you say that the vasanas are complete?
Correct. You are cooperating with me, sir. You are in a good mood today. Now, my vasana, let's say you are talking about this, there is a vasana to have a wisdom academy. Okay. Now that vasana is not fulfilled, not fructified yet. Now, what happens to all those vasanas? You're talking of one. There may be many such vasanas. Example, there are many such unfulfilled vasanas or desires. What happens to them? Each vasana or a desire is a very potent force or energy that drives you from experience to experience. If I have a desire to see Manhattan, to experience New York, I will travel, this physical body will travel from Hyderabad, will travel all the way from here to Manhattan and experience New York for 2 weeks and come back. Now, why did that physical body change environment from here to a different world, an alien place? Why did it go? Because I have entertained the desire to see Manhattan. That's all. So the desire is that powerful. It can change environment. It will drive your body from one place to other, from experience to experience. So each desire, each thought, each vasana is a powerful, potent force of energy. You agree with me? And science says energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So what happens, the law which says that this energy cannot disappear into nothing. That vasanas which you have entertained from so many years, and all of a sudden it comes to an end. What happens to these vasanas or desires?
They dissipate.
So there is no dissipation. There is an unaccountable loss of vasanas or energy at death. So let me complete, sir, please. There is an unaccountable loss of vasanas or energy at death. We do not know where it's gone. Now, when a child is born with a unique vasana. He's born brilliant into mathematics, or is brilliant into computers, or is born into opulence or poverty, or has a particular characteristics. When a child is born, where did the child get those vasanas or traits from? There is an unaccountable gain of vasanas at birth. There is an unaccountable loss of vasanas at death. What these masters have done is they have audited the law of life and said the loss of energy at death and the unaccountable gain of energy at birth, they have connected. So when B1, birth 1, when you die, B1, embodiment 1, and there's a birth of embodiment 2. They're only saying the embodiment 1 dies, embodiment 2 is born, is a continuity, my dear. And this continuity of cycle of birth and death will go on until the fuel of vasanas exists in you. And this cycle of birth and death will come to an end when the fuel within, which is the vasanas, are exhausted. That is what we said, man minus vasanas equals to that state of God realization. And in him, there is no further rebirth. For him, that self is not destroyed. Everything around him destroyed, but the self in him is eternal. Everything else is ephemeral. Even the vasanas you have will have to end someday. We are only saying, by God's sake, please, why don't you seek this wisdom and expedite the process of growth? Why do you leave it to nature and say, let time take its course? Have you not educated yourself? Did you leave it to nature and say, let nature teach me in your childhood days? Did you not learn skills and art of various fields to find success in a specific job? Did you leave it to nature? Let nature teach me a particular skill or an art? No. Similarly, you will have to evolve consciously so that you attain that state, that spiritual wisdom these masters are talking about. So there is enough arguments the masters are giving. As you rightly said, no guru, no master, nobody can prove you is there a birth after death, but I can convince you to believe in that there is a possibility of birth existing because of pure science. I'm only giving a tip of the iceberg of this concept of the theory of reincarnation. It is a theory. The concept of it's a theory because I can't prove it to you. But that theory is based on sound logic. Now, all what we are saying is the manifest, unmanifest one, unmanifest two. Unmanifest two is the Atman, the self, the reality, which is eternal, which is beyond the manifest and the unmanifest. The unmanifest one is the Vasana, the manifest is the world. From the unmanifest one, the entire manifested world has emerged, and the manifest and the unmanifest one does not affect the unmanifest two. The self remains unaffected. It is higher. Paraha is above. Everything else is impermanent, but the self is the permanent.
Thanks, Guruji.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Most welcome. So Brahman is beyond the manifest and the unmanifest. It is way, way beyond. And this is the language of the Shastras. You may not understand until it is decoded in a language like this. Sadly, it is not taught to us, nor it is clarified to us. So most of us are left ignorant, not understanding the deep import of what these great Shastras are saying. In last week, we were talking about how all these vasanas are, when you wake up and when you go to sleep, I wake up as the same person I slept as. Venkatji, or Dr. Venkatji, I have to call doctor from now on. No? Please pardon us if I don't address you correctly. Huh? The party still holds good. Huh? Now, when you go to sleep, Venkatji, what happens to your vasanas?
Probably they are in a dormant stage, or they are in thoughts until unless you have a deep sleep.
They are thoughts only in the waking stage.
Okay.
In the deep sleep stage, they are in vasana stage. Okay. Now the question is, when you are in deep sleep, what happens to all your vasanas? Where are they? Can you tell me where are they?
Could not know since I'm in deep sleep, but probably they are all dormant. And
Vasana means dormant. Vasana means unmanifest. My question is, where are they? Because it is not that. Has it ever happened, sir, that your wife's vasanas, Tarunuma's vasanas have come to you and your vasanas have gone to her? Suddenly she has gone to seed works and you've gone to the kitchen? It would never happen. How is it possible? Your vasanas have not gone to your children's vasanas have not come to you. How is it that your vasanas are intact? Billions of people, millions of people, countless vasanas, yet your vasanas, a strict account is maintained. The person who slept, the same person who wakes up. If that does not happen, you will ask Gayatri Ma, oh, Guruji, what did Guruji wake up as today? Did he wake up as a philosopher or did he wake up as somebody else? Oh, he did not wake up as a philosopher today. So therefore, there is no class. Classes have been cancelled for the day. Why? Because he is woken up as somebody else. Would that ever happen, sir? Has it ever happened to you?
no.
It would never happen. So isn't it staggering? Isn't it staggering that all your account is so beautifully managed and maintained, accounted for? Every action you perform, whether positive, negative action you perpetrate, every cause and effect is accounted for. It never happens that you have done something good and I have got the reward of that, or I have done something negative and you have been punished for that, nothing happens. How? And you're doing countless actions in a day. And imagine multifold people performing multifold actions, and yet how beautifully the system is maintained. We should get that software, sir.
Some of it you are helping us to get it in a hardware form, obviously.
But what I'm saying is, even I am amazed. The number of times you ponder over it, you said, my God, how is it all maintained? And then I'm reminded of the example others took, we switch off your computer or your phone and everything gets backed up in a cloud. Somewhere in the cloud, everything is yours in a cloud nowadays. Where is it in the cloud? They say in the cloud, maybe some servers, but where is it? It's amazing.
But the only clarification I have here is when you said that some people are not born right, or some kind of a deformity, whatever it is. So why does somebody want to be born like that? Other vasanas I can understand, but physically or unhealthy, nobody would like to. So if a child is born, and if you are saying that that is because of some vasanas of his earlier life or whatever it is, unaccounted ones, that is a little bit intriguing for me. Or maybe, if a child is born, he is helpless, he is just getting those vasanas which he would not have desired. At least nobody desires to have that kind of life. So that is one clarification which I have on the physical form of being
born.
Sir,
even you're talking of being born deformed. I'll go one step earlier. Nobody wants to die, but why everybody dies? Even a person in the deathbed, when the doctors have given you no more time, that person believes that he still have at max a few more months he can spend the time, and he would like to just get a little more affection from his near and dear. Doctors are saying he doesn't have more than a few days, but something in him tells he's not going to die. Nobody wants to die, yet everybody dies. Can you give me an answer for that, sir?
No, I mean, yes, no answer for that, but yes, everybody dies, nobody wants to die. I agree with you.
Now, the reason I say, in fact, there is maybe if you assure me you'll come back next week, I'll answer, sir. Because that assurance I don't get from you. Can you assure me you come back next week?
Yeah, I will.
Then I'll explain to you next week, because I don't have the luxury of time now. I'll have to fall back on to the second chapter. In the second chapter of the Gita, he draws a parallel of vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. He talks of a man wearing a garb. I wear a garb, and he says it's like I get rid of the garb and put on a new garb. He compares a man wearing a garb and putting on a new garb to you picking up a physical body, dropping this physical body, picking up another body. So the purpose for which you're born, this embodiment of Venkat, because when you were born, you were not doctors. So I have to address you as when you were a child. When you were born as a Venkat, as an embodiment, your purpose is to exhaust the vasanas for which you're born. As you understand, you are born with only purpose to exhaust certain vasanas. And once the vasanas for which you're born are exhausted, point one. Second, the new vasanas you are entertaining, or the fresh vasanas you have, cannot be exhausted in this embodiment. You will change the environment and the embodiment to fulfill those vasanas. You had a vasana for Bhagavad Gita. You have come to the Bhagavad Gita class and you have satisfied your vasana. Now the next vasana you have is you are very hungry. You want to eat your lunch. Now you will not be able to satisfy your desire in this classroom. So what would you do? You would change the environment. You will go into a different environment to satisfy the next vasana. After you have your lunch, what would you do? Where would you go? Dr. Venkatram?
I have
After
some
lunch,
other
where
work.
would you go?
No, nowhere I will go. I have some other work which I have to do. Office work.
Okay. Why can't you do at your lunch place?
Because lunch place will not provide me that kind of an environment.
Environment for what?
I mean, I need obviously a computer and then some bit of what one has to say.
You cannot satisfy that vasana for office work at a lunch environment. So you will create a different, it may be in the same home, but you will create a different environment to satisfy the next vasana. After that, what? Oh, I have planned to go for a movie in the evening with the family. Why can't you satisfy that at home, at your office space? Sir, at office space, I can't satisfy the desire for a movie, sir. So I go to the theater to satisfy desire for watching a movie. After that, what? I would have been hungry. We planned for dinner. Why can't you plan dinner in the theater? Sir, that can't satisfy my desire for dinner. I will only get some snacks in the theater, but I will not get Italian food. So I have booked for a table in an Italian restaurant to satisfy the vasana. So you see, the desire for philosophy, Gita, has taken to environment. Desire for lunch has taken to environment. Desire to do office work has taken to environment. Desire to watch a movie has taken to environment. Desire for dinner has taken to a specific environment. So each environment, isn't there a birth and death? You die in the Gita class, you're born for lunch at home. You're dead for lunch at home. You're born for work at office. You're dead at work at office. You're born at the theater. You're dead in the theater. You're born at the restaurant. Then you're dead at the restaurant. You're back at home. This birth and death of events, isn't there a continuity of your life? If you can imagine each birth as a bundle of vasanas, once those vasanas are exhausted, you close and say bye-bye to everybody. You kick the bucket. You move on to the next embodiment. For what? To satisfy the next bundle of vasanas you have. And after that are exhausted, you go on to the next bundle of vasanas. Like that, birth 1, birth 2, birth 3, birth n continues going on. So it is nothing but a beautiful theatrical performance of vasanas going on. Only thing, if you understand how the vasanas are playing, you will know how to play with the vasanas. You understand the play to play with them. Otherwise, we get into that. They'll play with us. So don't be played by them. You play with them. Get out of them. The purpose is to get out of the vasanas and get to the second unmanifest, which is the self. So at all times, you must tell myself, I want to be a master of my vasanas. Lord Ganesha was a true master. Lord Ganesha had so much food in front of him. But what? He was a master. People gave him so much food because he loved it, but he was a master. Control. If you are able to control your vasana, steer your vasana, no problem. But still come back next week, Venkatji, I'll explain to you in further detail.
Okay, thank you.
Chapter 2, right. Hariji asking, what is the influence of satsang on our vasanas? The influence of satsang on your vasanas is it strengthens your desire for the higher. When you have this vasana, when you have the desire to seek the self, and you seek an environment which is conducive to feed this desire, that satsang only strengthens your desire to pursue the higher. So your the satsang reinforces your urge to pursue the self. Right. So to that extent, the other desires, other vasanas get weakened because you're not entertaining them. You choose the higher from the lower. So you sacrifice the lower for the higher. Okay. I'm very sorry for Setuji. I think he just logged in from Heathrow Airport. I think so. He's on his way transit to US and yeah, I think it is him. He's wishing us. Setuji, we'll have to say bye-bye to you with our best wishes for your journey forward to US. Where are you, Setuji, now?
We are at, we just reached the gate for boarding at Heathrow, London.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sanjay
we
will
could
see
not.
you. No,
yeah,
Sanjay will see you very soon.
Yeah.
Hari Om Ji, Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om. Right, so we'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevava Shishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Shivaji, you wanted to say something, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce Ganesh. You already spoke to him. Ganesh is my nephew. He lives in Luxembourg. He had come to Hyderabad. I took him out for the Upanayan, this thing for the thread changing thing ceremony. And then I explained him about this. He attended the session yesterday. I invited him to today. In fact, he's finding it very good for him to continue. He has already shared it to all his friends across. And I think we need to touch that the age group which they are all looking for. I think we need to see that we somehow reach them. He was saying why it was not told to me earlier. So I think we should start doing it now.
Appreciate. Glad to have connected with Ganesh. Right, sir. Thank you. We'll come back. Hari Om.